You're listening to Investify, preaching financial independence and assisting investors to achieve a more flexible and free lifestyle through smart financial planning and real estate investing. If leaving the corporate world and jumping into this thriving industry is what you desire, tune in and listen to stories of like-minded individuals who made the leap to financial independence. Equip yourself with the right tips and tricks to start your real estate journey, making active or passive ventures that are highly profitable and rewarding.
What's going on, everybody? You are listening to Investify. My name is Craig Curlop, aka the Fi Guy, and I'm here with my co-host, Miss Allie Garcet. What up, Allie?
What's going on, Craigie?
Hey, not much. I am chilling here in Massachusetts in my sister's old room at my parents' house, visiting family after a really fun BP con last week. And as much as I love it over here on the East Coast, I do not love this whole, like, everything is later over here. Like, what time is it over in Arizona? Like 3 o'clock or something?
Yep, 3:09.
3:09. It is like 6:09 here, and it is like not fun. Like it's dark. I had to turn my light on. Like, I don't like that. I like being on the West Coast.
I do too. But also when we wake up in the morning, like being on West Coast time, like the amount of texts that I have, I feel like I have to start my day right away instead of like East Coast where you can send out a text to somebody in the Pacific Coast and you're like, they'll get to it later. But at least it's the ball's no longer in my court. When we wake up, the ball is always in our court.
That's true.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just ignore those anyway, but until I'm ready. But that's funny. Yeah. Anyway, well, I hope you guys, we saw a lot of you guys at BPCon. You guys, it was really great to see some of our listeners there. And we're going to take some of your feedback. And we kind of mentioned it in the show, but yes, a lot of our really bad choreographed stuff is, in fact, planned that way because that's just how we are. #no budget. But we got a really cool guest on today, Mr. Max Cohen. And Max, he's kind of got a special place in my heart too, like some of our other guests, mainly because we helped him get his first house hack at the FI team. And, he was obviously a little bit nervous like anybody would be. He got it. He's renting it out. It's cash flowing him $1,000 a month after property management. And he's gone on to purchase 4 other properties, now basically financially independent, even though he is still working, but he could quit tomorrow if he wanted to. And I don't know, that just like warms my heart knowing that, like, hey, we created this little financially independent person and we're doing our big job here, which is to reduce the U.S. retirement age. And like just one by one, we're kind of knocking that out. So it feels good kind of seeing someone come full circle.
Yeah. And that's awesome from an outsider to hear about what the FI team is doing, like what Grace did. Grace must also have like the warm and fuzzies, being that she was the first agent, to help him purchase his first house. And he went from $0 in passive income to now $10,000 a month in, what was it, 3 years? That's
not even 3 years. Like, it's crazy.
It's incredible. Yeah, it's incredible. So good job, Grace.
Yeah, it's awesome. Good job, Grace. Actually, she's secretly behind me, but I'm not allowed to show her because she's sick right now. So send Grace all the love because she's feeling a little down. But we'll make her better just through love. But yeah. So I guess we can stop chit chatting and we can bring on Mr. Max Cohen.
This episode of Investify was brought to you by the FI team, a team of investor-friendly agents that service all 50 states. If you are looking to house hack, to invest, grow your portfolio, and want a true investor-friendly agent on your side, go to thefiteam.com and click Get Started, and we can't wait to have a good conversation with you.
Max Cohen, welcome to the show, my friend. How you doing today, dude?
Thanks so much. Appreciate you guys having me. I'm doing great.
Yeah, man, it's great to finally have you on, man. We've had you at a guest at our meetup. Like, we've been friends for a long time. Ashley used to be on our team. It was like your girlfriend.
Yes, still girlfriend.
Girlfriend. This is me giving you that nudge, brother. Yeah.
It's amazing. Once you get into your late 20s, you hear about that everywhere you go. It's like, when is that happening?
Yeah, Ashley did just toss me 100. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, sure.
But Max, why don't you take us back to kind of the beginning days of your real estate investing? and where you kind of first heard about financial independence, and how you got on this train.
Yeah, so I'm kind of like some people. I didn't actually grow up with any kind of real estate background at all. I didn't know anyone that was into it, anyone that really owned properties. I mean, my parents had a house, kind of a thing, but that was it. And actually, coming out of college, I remember thinking. Now I know it's wrong, but at the time, that people that were in real estate were kind of like scammy people that they couldn't get through college or whatever. That's kind of what I thought about real estate at the time, and now that I'm into it, I've learned it's quite the opposite. But I kind of got first exposed to it when my brother bought his first house, which is in Tucson, which I know is where Allie lives. So he bought that in the end of 2019. He just kind of bought it because he wanted a place to live and he figured he'd be in Tucson kind of long term. So he ended up doing that, which kind of opened my eyes to just buying a property in general. Prior to that, I was just bouncing around different apartments in Denver and San Diego, and never thought about buying just because it was something that I felt like was going to lock me into a place long term, which I did not want to do.
Did your brother rent it out at all, or was it just he bought a home and you're like, oh crap, if he can do it, I can do it?
Yeah, it's kind of the latter. He just bought a house before either of us knew about investing, just to live in it. Now he's renting it out to my mom, and he lives in a condo, another property he bought, but it was not bought as an investment. He didn't know about investing at the time. He just decided it was something to buy, which kind of got me on the train to eventually buying my first property, which was a condo in Denver, which is where I live. But again, at that time, this was February 2020 when I closed on my first property, the condo, and I didn't know about investing at that point either. It wasn't until, ironically, kind of like right after that, March or April of 2020, that I started opening my eyes to investing, and I learned about bigger pockets and started going down that rabbit hole with podcasts and all that kind of stuff.
So what triggered you to go from like condo homeowner to now investor? Like, did you just find the podcast? Or?
Yeah. So it was my brother. He kind of opened my eyes to it. He kind of did some research on his own and then just mentioned it to me. And both of us being engineers, we're kind of into the math side of things. So the numbers kind of just made sense. Like, hey, your housing cost is your biggest expense. If there's some way you could reduce that or eliminate it in some way, that would make a big difference in your financial future. So once I started going down that rabbit hole, it was clear that that was the thing I needed to do.
That's the wrong answer, bro. You should have said you read the house hacking strategy. You saw Fred. Yeah, come on. I'm just kidding.
I hate to admit this on the show, but I still haven't read your book. But I've listened to your podcast, your Bigger Pockets podcast, multiple times. I'm a big fan of this show, so I'm involved with the whole thing.
Oh man.
It's okay, Craig.
One time
We'll have the editors mash this up. We'll do some AI. We'll have him actually say, "I love your book. It's my favorite."
Yeah, I've actually only read your book, and I keep reading it. Yeah.
It's the only book I ever read, exactly.
Yeah, that'll make me feel really good. So funny enough, man. It sounds like this condo wasn't really like. I mean, it was an investment for you, like, but it was more just like a residential homeowner buy. And so, like, now that you're like, oh crap, I bought this thing, really not with the numbers on it and all that, I can kind of get like the oh crap feeling. I can kind of feel that you felt that probably. What did you do next? Like, in April of 2020, other than just sit in your house all day?
Exactly right. This was kind of beginning of the pandemic, so wasn't ready to make another move. I was still kind of in the education phase those couple months, but it wasn't long after that I met my now girlfriend Ashley, who we've mentioned, and she was actually already house hacking. So it was kind of the combination of meeting her, seeing her doing that, as well as the education I was picking up. That was like, it made it clear that house hacking was the way to go if I wanted to set myself up in the future financially. But I just bought that condo, so it's still kind of mulling it over and everything. But by the end of the year of 2020, I was like, I'm ready to jump into this and go for it. So it was kind of the first chance I could get. Once I was at that year mark, I could buy another private residence. So that's when I kind of jumped into buying my first house hack.
You know what this might sound like, Ellie?
This might sound like the
real
deal.
But, You know what's kind of funny is we were just at BPCon. This is like total digression here, but like we were just at BPCon, and this guy who came and listens to the podcast was like, it used to like get me really angry that you guys would like never be in sync or anything like that. But then I realized you're just doing it on purpose, and I was like, yes, exactly. We're just doing this on purpose.
Yes, we are doing that on purpose.
Yeah,
You know what,
bad.
Craig?
Yeah.
I also got some feedback about that, and someone was like, you could probably just like cut that part out. I was like, I'll tell Craig.
Yeah. I was like, that's the fun part. So we are kind of being like intentionally bad on purpose, just for the record. Like it's kind of funny. But if you hate it, let us know and we'll get rid of it. Anyway.
I honestly kind of always assumed that, but I wasn't quite sure. So I think that's where you want to be, is that midpoint where people aren't quite sure.
Yeah, exactly. We'll keep you on your toes.
Got to keep them guessing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, Max. Let's get into your for real deal. So this is like your first investment property after you've learned a little bit about bigger pockets and real estate investing and all that. So give us a little bit about when did you buy it? What did you buy? How did you find it? How did you finance it? All the numbers, all the tea, and we'll ask some questions from there.
Yeah, so starting with how I found it, I reached out to you, Craig. You probably don't remember, you get hit up by so many people, but you set me up with Grace as my agent. So she kind of helped me out going around. And this was end of 2020, we started looking. So as everyone knows, a very competitive time in the market. But in Denver, I kind of knew that the options for house hacking were kind of buying multifamily property, small multifamily probably, or doing the renting out bedroom strategy. And at the time, multifamily in Denver, you could probably do 600 to 900,000, which to me sounded like a lot of money. So I did not want to do that. The numbers didn't look quite as good on the cash flow end. Looking back, I kind of wish I had done that, just with where appreciation is and stuff like that. But still ended up with a great deal. I ended up buying, it was a 4-bed, 3-bath house in Aurora, Colorado, which is a suburb of Denver. And I ended up converting it over the time I lived there to 6 bedrooms. I converted the basement. I added an egress window there. And then I converted one of the living rooms into a bedroom just by putting up a wall, a door, and then building out a closet. I should say I didn't do any of this. I had a contract to do it because I don't have any skills, but that really upped the cash flow in the house, and just the layout I knew was going to be good. So I went from living in that 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo, thinking I was a cool downtown tech guy and living by myself, to then living with 5 roommates eventually in the suburbs of Denver. So quite a shift in my lifestyle, but it made a huge difference financially.
Okay, lots of questions here. First question is, how did you take that shift from having the money? I mean, you're 20, you're young, right? Like you're at this point, you're in your mid-20s. Yeah, mid-20s, making money, finally not broke. You have this opportunity to live in a nice condo downtown. You did it for like a year, not even, and now you're back out in Aurora. Like, what did your friends think? What did your coworkers think? What did your family think?
Yeah, it was I didn't think too much about what other people thought. I just, at that point, again, this was now a year at least into learning about real estate and all that kind of stuff. So I knew it made sense. Like I'd listened to enough shows about it, I'd done enough research where I knew the numbers were right. And again, being analytical and a numbers guy, I was kind of willing to sacrifice the comfort at that point. I know a lot of people know about that comfort profit skill, and I was willing to make some sacrifices while I was still young, to be uncomfortable, but to make more profit. And I knew it was only going to be a short amount of time. At that point, I had learned you can do a new private residence every year. So I was only planning on being there for a year anyway. So I was like, if I can really hunker down and be uncomfortable, not as uncomfortable as living in a living room behind a curtain, but still uncomfortable, then maybe I could set myself up in the future for a better financial outcome.
I was gonna say, just for the record, if I had any knowledge of rent by the room at the time I was living behind the curtain, I would have done rent by the room over and over and over again, because the numbers are better and you get your own record. Just for the record. So anyway, Alex, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. At this time, are you also talking to your brother about it as well? Or was he kind of just in like the buy a place to live in, that's it?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because he got me started down the path, and he was kind of as into it as I was at the start, but then he didn't quite continue it as I did. I just kind of got more obsessed with it, I guess, overall than he did. And he had somewhat of a complicated situation, not now, but his now wife is from Australia. So I think there was some back and forth with that, with them trying to get settled and everything. And so it just made more sense for me being a little bit more flexible where I was versus where he was. But he's still about investing. I partner on one deal with him currently. So, and we might do more in the future together. We'll see.
It's awesome, man. So you mentioned this 4-bed, 3-bath, and it sounds like you probably had like a larger area downstairs where you could add a couple bedrooms. We tell our clients this all the time. I think that is probably the best value add that you can do in terms of upping the cash flow and upping some appreciation. So I would love to just get into those numbers a little bit. Like, how much did it cost you, if you remember? And ballpark is fine, but to build these 2 bedrooms, and then how much did your rent increase afterwards?
Yeah, it's a complete no-brainer, like you were saying. Getting into the basement room, which was kind of just a basement, it had some gross carpet in it, so I threw some new LVP there. So that was, doing the flooring and a couple other things was maybe 10 grand, I would say, at most. But the stuff that actually made it a bedroom was just adding an egress window. Everything else was set up in there. So at minimum, I could have gone into that one bedroom for $5,000 is what I paid for the egress window, and that room rents out for like $1,000. So you can easily see like 5 months later, it already paid itself back. And I've had that room done now for 2 years, kind of a thing. So it's paid for itself multiple times over. Same thing with the living room. I just had to put up the wall, put up a door, make a closet in there. That probably cost like 3 grand to frame that whole thing out and do that. And that room is renting for $800 or $900 a month. So again, 3 or 4 months to pay for itself, and it's just been making money ever since then. Complete no brainer.
And have you found that like 6 people in a house is too much, or like the space isn't there, especially if you lost some common space with that?
It still surprises me to this day that people do live in these situations. Sometimes, I mean, it does save you money, but I feel like there's ways that people could, split a house with 2 or 3 people and still save some money. But I think people are just they like having the community aspect of it. And they like the fact that, they're paying $800 all in, no utilities, super simple. Again, you have a little bit of a social aspect to it and stuff like that. And so I haven't had any issues with that, honestly. Even when I was living there, people were pretty cohesive. It's really about screening people correctly and stuff and knowing if they're going to be a good fit.
That's exactly where I wanted to go with this, is how do you screen people to make sure that you're getting not some crazies?
Right. So at this point, I do have a property manager on it, but when I was doing it, I was pretty strict about obviously income. I called references. Like sometimes people I know take references, they don't call them, but I would definitely call professional references, not just family. And just talking with them and getting a sense of who they were and stuff like that those are kind of the big things that I did. And you can tell like if they're trying to set up a showing at your house and they don't show up 1 time or 2 times or something, like obviously they're not serious, they're not going to be a good fit. So you can kind of get a sense of someone's character just by chatting with them and chatting with people around them.
One thing that's kind of funny in what we're kind of telling a lot of our clients and what we're seeing is that, funny enough, the more bedrooms and the less common space, the better it is all around. So it's like a win-win. So not only do you actually are able to make some more because you're able to charge more, like because there's more bedrooms, but there's actually less drama because almost all drama takes place in common areas. So if you eliminate the common areas, then there's very little drama. And so, if you are thinking like, oh, you need 2 common areas or something like that, most people, young professionals, they're not college kids where they're like all buddies drinking beers, playing drunk Mario Kart or whatever. Like that's not the tenant pool. It's like these guys just want to go to their rooms and relax and chill after a hard day's work, and they want to get some sleep and then do it all again the next day. That's it. Would you guys agree? Or that's my experience. Would you agree, Max? Or?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree in my experience. Yeah, I thought I needed to have all this common space and stuff like that. But then I even did this living room conversion while I was living there and some other tenants were living there. They had to deal with the construction, but nobody said anything about it. Like nobody was upset that they lost another common space or anything. So yeah, I've heard people going as far as not even having common space, like you said, which I haven't done personally, but I don't think it would be that big of an issue, honestly. It just once you get a certain number of people and a certain square footage, it gets a little bit tight with a lot of stuff. So that's why I've stopped at 6 personally for this house.
So what are the numbers of like what do you get in rent? What's the mortgage payment? How much you set aside for reserves, utilities, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. First, I want to jump back to when I was living there, just because that was a big change for me. So when I was living in my condo, I was paying about $2,300 a month for that mortgage, and then once I started house hacking, renting out bedrooms in this house in Aurora, I was making $900 a month cash flow. And that was like after all expenses, which is pretty crazy. That's $3,200 difference per
Yeah, that's a
month in my
big
pocket that
jump.
Big jump. Yeah. So that's how it convinced me to do it in the first place, because it was just the numbers just made so much sense. And then, yeah, as you can imagine, once I moved out, I got that bedroom I was living in rented out. So that was another $800 or $900. So at that point, the cash flow was, 17, 1800 a month after everything. But then at this point, now I have a property manager on there. So I'm paying for that. So I'm probably now back down to around the 900 a month kind of a thing, but that's with no work at all, having to worry about that. So it's a great deal. And I've shifted my business kind of more towards short-term rentals. So it's great that it's just kind of hands off at this point and still makes money.
Yeah, I think that's awesome that you're able to, like, I think all these properties, you kind of do it yourself for the first year, like get a feel for to do it, then you find a property manager, let it go. Eventually, it might be a long-term thing, or if you love the cash flow and let it room, you keep it, or you change it to whatever. Like, there's so many options with these kind of houses. That's why I love them so much. You kind of just alluded to, okay, then you got into the short-term rental space. Is that what you did with your second house hack, or when did you buy your second one? And where you at there?
Yeah. So my first one was in January 2021. Then again, a year later, so this was January of 22, I bought actually the house I'm sitting in right now, which is a really big house. I think when I bought it, it was a 4 bed, 3 bath, 3.5 bath, but it was 4,100 square feet. So there's a lot of square footage and a lot of space that I could use. And the thing that attracted me to the property mainly was that though it was a single family house, the basement had a fully built out mother-in-law suite already. So it had its own kitchen, its own laundry, its own entrance to the backyard, had its own laundry. Kind of everything was already there. It was like as if I was living by myself downstairs for everything. And then I could rent out the upstairs. So coming into it, the strategy was working so well that I was like, I'm just going to keep renting out bedrooms. So that was what I did, what I thought coming into it. But once I did a rent back period when I bought this one, and once the people moved out of it, I realized it was in a lot worse condition than I anticipated. And I was planning on putting some money into it to renovate flooring, bathrooms, and stuff. But I realized I was going to have to do a lot more if I was going to make it a reasonable living situation for people. So that's when I dove into actually just renovating the entire thing. And then through that process, I realized, hey, I should just go short-term rentals. I was starting to learn about that and everything, and I kind of pivoted my strategy once this one came around.
Was that because or when you say that you realized you had to put more money into it, um, was that because of that rent back period that that the tenants kind of went ham or owners went ham, or was that beforehand?
No, beforehand, they just had a
Okay.
lot of kids and a lot of pets, and they were good at covering some of the damage up with their furniture and
Uh,
complete mess that they had because they had so much going on as a family. So it kind of became more obvious once all their stuff was out of there that, hey, this property might not be as ready as I thought it was to just be rented out. So turned into a blessing in disguise though, because it worked out great when I renovated it.
and did you use Grace again for that second purchase as well?
I did not. So at this point, my girlfriend
Oh,
Ashley had become a realtor, was on
oh,
Craig's team though, so it's
Let's
all
end the
good.
show. No, it's
yeah.
okay, good.
Grace
So
is in the
yeah,
background here, and she's like fuming. Her,
yeah, I bet. I bet
yeah,
she is. Yeah,
just
she
smoke is
still
coming out of
thinks
her
about it every
ears.
night.
Yeah, if the house
That's
burns
right.
down here, then I'll have to evacuate. So,
Exactly.
no,
But
that
yeah,
was
that's so yeah, it kind of works out great because now Ashley and I live together and stuff like that. So she kind of got a say in, the situation we are going to get ourselves into as well as being the agent. So it worked out great. I think this was her first deal too as an agent. So kind of kicked off her career and everything, which was kind of cool.
that's awesome, man. No, and that's good. Obviously, we're just keeping crap, not using Grace, but obviously you got to use your girl. So what is the so like what did you buy that second one for? What, like, it sounds like it's probably more expensive, higher mortgage payment, more down into it. Like, run us through some of those numbers.
Yeah, so kind of like a lot of people, you get more confident as you do this more and everything. So I jumped into a little bit higher purchase price. It was 665,000. I still did 5% down because it was a primary. Something cool that I did on this one was I actually used the 401k loan because you can use that depending on your employer to fund your down payment. So that covered 99% of my down payment essentially. So I think my down payment was like 30 something thousand, and I was able to use the loan from that and not really come out of pocket besides a loan to myself for that.
Okay, you got to talk to us about this 401k loan, not to be mistaken with the
Yeah,
203k loan. This is like
right.
doubly as cool. LOL.
Exactly.
Yeah. Um, so tell us, like, explain how that whole thing works.
So yeah, from what I understand, it depends on your employer. So not all employers might offer this, but if your employer does, there's certain things that you can take a loan from your personal 401k retirement account and then use that for. And in this case, I was able to use a loan. So it's technically a loan for myself because it's my money that I've put away for retirement. And I think the interest rate at the time was like 4.25 or something around that. So I'm paying that back every single paycheck. I think it's about $100 a month. I borrowed about $30,000 from it. So technically, I'm borrowing money from myself, but I'm going to be paying it back. There is some interest on it though. But getting into a cash flowing asset like the one I'm in, it totally makes sense to do that and come in with essentially zero out of pocket for that purchase, which is really cool.
That's awesome. I mean, did you like net positive if you consider, you did 95% loan to value on the first note. Then you've got your 401k loan where let's say you did 4% of that, and then you've got 1%, and then Ashley got a commission for 3% or whatever. And so you actually like made money just buying this house.
It was pretty much a free property if you think about it that way, in some ways. And then it became one too because I ended up renovating it and doing a PER and pulling out the money after that, stuff like that. So then it really
Okay.
became like no money out of pocket.
Dang. So how much money did you actually put into this, like all in all, after you did everything?
Yeah, it was a much bigger thing than I anticipated getting into. So I ended
What?
up renovating the entire upstairs. Yeah, right. Amazing how that goes.
It never happens.
Yeah, I think my original budget was probably like $80,000 or something, and I came in probably at 120 or so. So then all in, I was at almost 800. If you 665 purchase plus the 120 renovation, so that's about 800. And then it appraised. I had it reappraised because they're going to pull out the money, and it appraised at 910. So that was a pretty big spread there too. The profit about $115,000 or whatever it was. Yeah. So that was pretty cool to see that and see that Burr is actually a thing that works in practice, not just in theory.
Yeah. Did you refinance into another primary loan, or did you get out of the primary?
So on this one, I kept the primary because again, this was early 2022 when I bought. So I just snuck in when the rate was 3.25%. So I did not want to touch that rate because by the end of 2022, we were looking at 7%. So what I ended up doing was finding a lender that offers a home equity loan, not a HELOC, but home equity loan, at 6.25%. It was actually 100% loan to value. So for some people, that's kind of risky to pull out all the equity, but I knew I was going to use that money. So I actually pulled out all the money, all the equity that I had in it, which at that point was the spread between the 910 and I think I owed like 630 on the mortgage at that point or something. So that was a pretty big lump sum I was able to pull out. Again, another big loan. So the payment went way up monthly, but I was able to pull all that cash out and then use it for future deals.
So is it worth it? Like, is it worth having a property debt at 100% even after the refinance and like losing all that cash flow? Like, what was your number? What were your numbers like now that you're done? You're 100% leveraged again after the refinance. What are you renting it out for? What's the mortgage payment?
Yeah, so I turned it into a short-term rental. It's like a house hack short-term rental. So the original loan, my mortgage payment was like 34.50 per month. I was able to cancel PMI, which is cool because I canceled that before I refinanced or got the second home mortgage. So then it dropped it down to like 3,300. But then getting the second mortgage was another 2,100 a month. So I was looking at 5,400, 5,500 a month is my mortgage payment. But I turned it into a really nice short-term rental upstairs, and obviously it depends on the month for short-term rentals. Summer is better than winter here in Denver usually. But I'd say on average, the gross income's around 10,000, 11,000 a month kind of a thing. So you're making that spread between that, say it's 10 minus the 54 minus cleaning and other cleaning fees and whatever else there is, all kind of, utilities, maintenance, all that kind of stuff. So it's still cash flowing maybe 2 or 3 grand a month, which is kind of cool to see.
Wow, that's awesome. So you've got this one property that's cash flowing you like $1,000 a month. You've got number two here cash flowing you like 1,700 with the short term, even at 100%. And then obviously you took that money, And would you go to Vegas, buy a fancy ring?
Yeah, exactly. Gamble it away. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Completely quit real estate and got out of the industry. Exactly. Because it doesn't work really.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I should go back a little bit because there was one or two deals passed over, but so one I bought a couple months prior. I bought one while the renovation was going on, and this was a short term rental in Tennessee that I bought with my brother. This was in April of 22, so it was like in the middle of the renovation. And this was kind of my first foray into short term rentals, and kind of got me thinking about that space and everything. Um, and that one was just a two bath cabin in the Smoky Mountains. And we kind of bought that one at the top of the market, 5% interest rate. Was not a home run deal. I'd say it's okay. It's like maybe cash flowing a couple hundred a month, but for a short term rental, that's not great. So it was kind of an interesting lesson, but it was also a good lesson to invest out of state as well. That was my first time doing that and learning that I can do that, which is kind of part of the point of doing that. So we still own that to this day. It's not a home run deal or anything like that, but it's still, a property that we like to have in our portfolio. We might end up trading it for something in the future, but for now it's been good. And then I had one other deal before that as well, which was because the rent by the room situation worked so well. In late 2021, I bought one that was just renting out more bedrooms. So it was I didn't even live in this one. I just bought it as an investment property and rented out 6 bedrooms in that one. So those are two deals that I had done before as well. But then once I learned about short-term rental and that I was going to go down this path, I just decided to take that money that I got from the refinance of the property that I live in now, and then just buy more short-term rentals essentially.
Cool. Tell us a little bit about the lessons you learned in the out of state property and like what you might do differently if you were to do that again.
So yeah, I'd say we knew that it was a super volatile time and prices were going way up and everything. But I was also at the point where I was pretty confident in my knowledge of real estate, at least the narrow avenue that I know about, where I know it's better to take action than to just sit around and wait. And at that time, everything was going for way above asking and stuff, which was a dangerous time to go into it. But it was also like I knew in general, it's better to get into a property than to not. So that was kind of my thought process at the time. Obviously, you can make much bigger mistakes, and we're okay on this one. Just it's not amazing. But it was kind of just my thought process was, hey, let's keep going with what we have going here and some of that. And it's you might as well start building equity and start making some cash flow and all that kind of stuff when you buy a property than sit on the sidelines.
What's kind of funny right now is like obviously like back in early 2022 and 2021, people were throwing offers in at 60, 70, $100,000 over asking and like not getting them. And like people were doing that over and over and over again, with no remorse. Today, people are like, oh, interest rates are a little bit higher, but we can get properties at like under asking and like way under what we were getting for in 2021, but people still don't want to do it. And it kind of like blows my mind a little bit when you just like think about that logically. But yeah, it's funny. Like I think it's really like kind of to the sentiment of the market. It's like it makes sense to like zig when everybody else zags, right? If everybody's buying, like it might make sense to either like find a deal that like not everyone is offering on, or just make sure the numbers work. I guess is really what it boils down to. But definitely like I do think now, honestly, has been like one of the best times to buy in the industry that I've been working, but people are just afraid to do it because of interest rates being high. But I think that's just such a small thing compared to like the no competition, getting concessions, getting what you want, from the seller after closing, and then you can always, and then a lot of times there's these 2-1 buy downs that you can have, where you can actually have like instead of an 8% interest rate, it's 6% for the first year, and so there's all these things built into place to actually help investors right now, but people are just still scared. But anyway, I digress. I'll get off my soapbox. I want to ask you, like, now that we know you've got a portfolio here and you kind of are like maybe half rent by the room, half short-term rental, are you still wanting to like continue to diversify in both of those categories, like short-term rental and rent by room, or are you like, I'm going to probably move these rent by the rooms into short-term rental because they got 6 beds, they can house it at least 12 people.
Yeah, so it kind of became the latter. I started to realize rent by the room is amazing. I still love the strategy in so many ways, especially if it was your first deal. But for me, the management of tenants became something that I realized I did not want to do. I realized I was going to either have to really scale and build out like a property management company, which I didn't necessarily want to do, or just transition. So yeah, at one point I had 13 tenants. So there were 6 in each of these 2 houses and then 1 in the condo that I owned. And it was just getting to become a lot, which now that I'm a short-term rental, it's got its own problems, of course, but it's at least less commitment. You have a guest in there for a little bit and then they're out of there, out of your hair kind of a thing. So that was kind of the main reason why I pivoted. Just that I felt like it fit better with my personality, just being able to um, run a short-term rental versus managing a ton of tenants. And it was a better use of my time. The way that I've structured a lot of my properties, they tend to cash flow really well as well. So it kind of became clear as time went on that that would be the way that I should go. And as you kind of alluded to, one of the properties that I did rent out bedrooms in, I ended up converting to a short-term rental after a year of renting it out to people. So it kind of just became I wanted to kind of narrow my focus on a certain strategy, which I'm not locked into for the rest of my life, but it's doing what I'm doing right now, and it's kind of a good strategy that's working for me at the moment, and I do like it so far.
We hope this episode is inspiring you to take action. If you're thinking about becoming a real estate agent or an agent who wants to join an investor-friendly team, just hit me up on Instagram at the Fi Guy, because we are growing our team in Denver, Seattle, San Diego, and Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, but also adding to our network in all 50 states. And if you didn't already know this, the Fi team provides a super supportive environment with one-on-one coaching, accountability, and ongoing training to help develop kick-ass, rock star, investor-friendly real estate agents. So hit me up on Instagram at the Fi Guy, shoot me a DM, and we'll set up a time to chat. Can't wait to chat with you.
And we glossed over this, but I want to touch on this further. You mentioned, and you might not remember or remember any specific details, but you glossed over the deals that you passed up on, like that you pretty much said no to. And saying no, I think, is equally, if not maybe even more important than the deals that you say yes to, because a bad deal can put you so far behind. So I feel like those are so important to cover too. And I feel like we might not cover that enough. Do you remember why you passed on certain deals?
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of deals I was looking at with my brother. Even in Tucson, we looked at some multifamily properties out there at one point, some small multifamily. We thought that might be a good idea to get into that. There was one that we were under contract on and everything, and the inspection just came back really bad, electrical issues, plumbing issues. It wasn't in the best neighborhood, kind of a thing. So we kind of were like, even though we had paid for an inspection, we had paid for all this kind of stuff. We were like, it's probably better to pass on this because it's going to keep causing issues down the line. And who knows if it would have or wouldn't have. But I think we took the time kind of just to step back and be like, this might not be the best fit for us overall. So it's kind of like you have to, I always tell people like, you want to take action to get in there, but you also need to have a certain level of education and knowledge when it's not going to be the best fit as well.
Yeah. And you need to have a buy box. And you need to know just what your deal breakers are and stick to it. Like so many people, I feel like as soon as you start flexing, similar to your rules for your short-term rentals, for your Airbnbs, like if your rule is no pets, or if your rule is, no whatever, as soon as you bend on that one rule, that it always becomes a nightmare. Like it always just gets worse after that. So yeah, sticking to your rules.
That is so true. It's definitely in short-term rentals too. I used to consider offering when people ask for discounts. I would consider it and maybe grant it sometimes. At this point, I just won't take the booking if you will only book with a discount because, as you said, then it leads to further issues. They start asking for more stuff. They start causing problems. It's just not worth it at all.
Yeah, it's like a control shift, right? Like you as a short-term rental property manager or an investor, like you are the business owner. And so you need to be the leader in a transaction when someone is staying at your place. Just like us as real estate agents, we need to be the leader through the transaction. And so like when if you start just seeding and seeding and seeding and seeding and giving into whatever they say, the control is no longer yours. They have complete control over you. And like now you can't even run your business, right? You don't go to Amazon and ask them for a discount off your Prime membership, do you? Like, no, that's ridiculous. And so, like, no, it really shouldn't be the same thing. And I totally agree with that, man. And I feel like every single time that I've had an issue on any Airbnb or any rent by the room or anything like that, it's because I, for some reason, flexed on my criteria.
Max, so what's next for you? Where do you see yourself going from here?
Yeah, so after that renovation I did, I kind of got into some more short-term rentals as well, and I think that's just the way I'm going to keep going for now while it's working great for me and everything. I'm in the middle of another house that I'm renovating that I'm going to turn into a short-term rental, and I've mainly focused on the Denver market, just the metro market, and people have different philosophies on that. Some people say only do vacation markets, some say metro markets are better, but I like the metro markets. I think it's a little bit more um, recession proof, just that there's more reasons people are going to travel rather than just vacation. You know, if someone's having a wedding, you're going to go no matter what kind of a thing, or, you know, other family events or bachelor parties, whatever it might be. I think there's more flexibility and people still being willing to travel. So that's the way I'm going to continue to take my business for now, just doing more short-term rentals. Like I said before, it doesn't mean I want to do this the rest of my life, but it's had great success so far. And um, yeah, I think I'm going to keep going with that for the time being.
How are you combating some of the legislation that's working against short-term rentals, especially in these metros, as housing continues to get more and more unaffordable?
Yeah, you definitely have to be very vigilant about that. I know it's changing across the country, and many counties in Denver are still having big changes to this day. So I've kind of spread out my properties to a couple different cities and counties. And that's kind of a way that I somewhat mitigate it, because if one town all of a sudden decides to change the rules, that's just one short-term rental maybe I lose that I need to sell or pivot or rent out long term or something and go somewhere else. So that's kind of just a way that I try to mitigate it a little bit. You never know when that's going to happen. Sometimes it does take cities and counties a little bit of time usually to actually come through and do that. So you have a little bit of runway, but in case that does happen, I do like to diversify where I'm at a little bit, just so that I have a little more insulation from that stuff happening.
And then one last question is, how are you like a lot of people, especially short-term rentals in the past couple of years, has caught so much steam, and some of them are so good, and yours included, are like I would put it in that category as like so good, really hard to compete with. How do you consistently be in that like top tier range where like your place is booked compared to all the other competition out there?
Yeah, it's challenging. I mean, just like the rules, the quality of these short-term rentals continues to go up and everything. And I keep thinking that there's no way I'm going to be able to compete with the heavy hitters in the industry and stuff. And somehow you just kind of find a way and everything. I think these days it's kind of going toward amenities. Everyone wants the cool amenities. People offer hot tubs, mini golf, you know, cool game rooms, all that kind of stuff. And I like to, like we mentioned, I like to cater to big groups. People can do small Airbnbs and they're probably booked at a higher occupancy rate. Me, I like the big ones just because I can afford a lower occupancy rate and still charge more money and make enough money. But yeah, it's about your design needs to be top notch, your amenities need to be top notch. It needs to just have a good overall flow to the entire house. But yeah, people are going to keep evolving. This is going to be the next cool thing and stuff like that. So you just need to be on top of that. And honestly, it's a lot of jobs at once. Being a real estate investor in general, but definitely being a short-term rental owner and operator, there's a lot of different hats you have to wear. So I've outsourced some stuff, and maybe I'll start outsourcing my design. But for now, I've kind of kept that just me doing that for now, and kind of paying attention to who's doing what and everything, and trying to compete with the best that there are.
Yeah, I love that, man. What are some like the systems and stuff that you use to manage your short-term stuff? Like if you had to give like a top 3 or 4 things that you could not live without.
Yeah, I mean, it's the softwares for sure that are out there. You have to have a PMS. I use Guesty for hosts, which that just manages your calendar and it syncs Airbnb and Vrbo, for example. Then having like a pricing software. I use Price Labs. There's a bunch of other ones out there, but that'll automatically adjust to, you know, other events going on, other occupancy of other Airbnbs in the area and stuff like that. So all that kind of just fine tunes the flow of all your rentals and stuff like that. And there's a lot of automated messaging that these systems handle too. So it's kind of just like one-off messages and stuff that you have to deal with. And then just having like a team you can go to, like your cleaners need to know how to not just clean, but clean a short-term rental, know what guests are looking for as far as cleanliness and stuff like that. And then having like handymen you can call on and everything, because that's one thing about short-term rentals for sure, even more so I'd say than normal rentals. Stuff breaks all the time. People are reckless or they're just having a good time and accidentally break something. So you need to be able to get that fixed like super quickly before your next guest shows up.
Yeah, totally with all that stuff. Man. And so like your properties now, you've got like what, 5 of them. You're basically going on 4 years into buying your first one, even including your condo. Like, where are you at cash flow wise? Where are you at? Like, you gonna quit your job anytime soon? Give us all the update on life.
Yeah, so again, it kind of fluctuates just being short-term rentals, but I'm somewhere around the 10,000 a month in cash flow, I'd say. And I just did a presentation, obviously, for the VI team, so my numbers are pretty up to date. So that's what I landed at, and so that's amazing, right? I could probably be, if I wanted to, I could quit and I'd be okay and stuff like that. Right now, I'm doing another renovation on a property, which is eating away a lot of the money I have, so I'm holding on to my job, but either I'll probably call it quits on my software gig after this next one, or I'll see. I'm trying to hold on as long as possible because the benefits are great and stuff like that. And but I do like having flexibility in my lifestyle and stuff like that. So the point is the financial freedom at some point. So at some point I'll go full time in short term rentals and whatnot. But yeah, I just want to make sure. I like to be extra cautious about stuff. Like it's not just you're replacing your salary; it's you're replacing the benefits that you have and stuff like that, and a bunch of other things that jobs might offer you. So yeah, I'm being a little bit conservative, but that's just where I feel comfortable at the moment.
That's amazing. I love that for you, dude. Yeah, I completely agree with holding on to the job until you're just fed up. Like if you like it, yeah, you're not as you don't have as much autonomy right now, but if you like it, if you're enjoying it and it's funding your rehabs while you're doing, it's funding your passion, hold on to it. Yeah.
And it allows you to keep buying more.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Qualifying for loans and whatnot. It's going to be a little bit different game. I've definitely been holding out, so I have 2 years of rental income and whatnot, and everything's solid there. So hopefully, I'll be able to keep buying and stuff like that. But that's definitely a consideration on my mind too. Just all the things that a job brings you, and lenders love a W-2. So
Do you think that you would want to like manage short term rentals for other people and like scale that way if you were to leave your job, let's say tomorrow? Or do you just want to keep buying for yourself and partner with other people and have some ownership in it?
yeah, it's kind of something I've gone back and forth on. In general, I'm not really interested in managing other people's rentals. I've had people offer that to me or ask me to manage, and even offer money to get into some of my deals and stuff like that. But it's just not. I honestly don't enjoy managing short term rentals that much. That's something that I'll probably outsource at some point personally. And at this point, I haven't really partnered with a lot of people besides my brother. And I kind of like it that way so far. I know there's a lot of benefits to partnerships, and maybe I'll do that at some point. But right now, it keeps things simple, which is kind of how I like my lifestyle to be. I know that it's hard enough for me to make decisions on things, and then if you're bringing in another person or two or three, then it's probably even harder sometimes to do that. So right now, I'm trying to keep things as simple as possible. It doesn't mean that I won't be open to partnerships or other opportunities in the future, but that's kind of my philosophy right now.
Awesome, man. Well, dude, I think that your story is so commendable because really, I mean, if you want to count 2020 on the condo, but really you kind of started your journey with your first real purchase in 2021. And here we are sitting at the end of 2023, and you're by anyone's terms financially free at 10,000 a month. You're choosing to keep your job. You can probably make it 20 to 25,000 a month at least with your job. And so like you're sitting in a very, very, very good financial position. And like, are you even 30 years old yet?
A couple months away, getting there.
Okay, hang on to your
Wow.
20s, brother. Yeah. Um, right. And so, like, that's just like the power of doing this stuff, though, right? Whether it's short term rental, whether it's rent by the room, or whether, like, I think those are the two most powerful ways. Just kind of pick your poison as to what you want. But to get to financial independence in just a couple of years' time, like, that is the way to do it. And it's so possible. Max just showed it here today.
Yeah, it's cool. This stuff really does like build on itself, even exponentially. I remember going to meetups with the FI team and listening to podcasts and stuff, and all these people that are like way ahead of me and stuff like that. And then one day you're just in their seat, kind of a thing. So it does happen. You just got to stay committed to it, and it's not without work, that's for sure. Like a lot of people think real estate is passive and whatnot, but it's been a lot of hard work to get here and stuff like that. But totally worth it if you're going for some freedom in your life.
Yeah. Now you're speaking at the meetups or on the podcast. Now you're doing the giving back, which must feel pretty good.
That's right. It feels good. Yeah, I feel like I've been taking forever, so it's awesome.
Amazing. Well, Allie, I think it's almost time to move into the final part of our show.
Final? Oh,
The
yeah.
title.
I messed up on purpose there.
Oh, that was on purpose. Yeah. We're just going to say
That
all
was
of
on
our messages
purpose.
on purpose now. Yeah,
No,
duh.
It's all.
Can we not see that? Yeah. All right. Actually, wait. Before we get into the final four, we need to ask Max one last question. And do you have any parting words for our listeners?
I mean, I'll probably get into it with some of the final four, but it is just the take action thing. I'm sure people say it all the time and everything, but it's very easy to get into just the feeling stuck and everything like that. And actually, the book I'm going to share is kind of all about feeling stuck and getting past that and everything.
Is the book The House Hacking?
Yeah, exactly.
The
That's
one
right.
that is on repeat in the background in the surround sound speaking in his house. Yeah.
Exactly. I listen to it nonstop, no matter where I am.
Yeah. I love it, man. Well, I'm looking forward to you kind of, give us a little preview of what this book is. I'm excited to hear it. But first, me and Allie need to intentionally be horrible at saying it is time for the final
The final four.
Well, Allie, kick us off.
Question number 1, Max. Mr. Max Cohen, what book are you reading right now?
It's this one right here, The Art of War. Not The War of Art, that's a different book. But this one's kind of about addressing your mental hurdles that you might have. And it's a really interesting book. I've never really read a book quite like this. It's not just about that, but like every single chapter might only be like 2 sentences kind of a thing, but it's like very deep, very dense. Like you could read just one page and that'd be enough of a lesson for like one day, I feel like. So it's super useful in yeah, trying to push through like mental hurdles if you feel stuck in any way. So I'm looking forward to getting through the rest of it.
What's really funny is that I believe that this is mirrored when you post things up on the.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. So even though you said it literally looks like the art of the War of Art. Like, it looks exactly like to us what you said
Yeah.
it wasn't, which is really funny. Did you see that? Ellie?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I was laughing.
Yeah, I did.
Like, wait,
Yeah.
can I not read? Yeah.
He's like, it's not the War of Art, and I'm reading the War of Art.
Yeah.
Hopefully people watch it on YouTube then.
Yeah, that'll be pretty funny. But yeah, it's actually funny. So I read that book a couple years ago, and I remember for any football fans out there, but I think Bill Belichick, the coach of the Patriots, always like references that book. And I remember one of the things in there is like you always want to attack from like uphill, right? Is that in that book? Have you got there yet?
I don't know if I've gotten to that part yet. It might be the end of it.
Might be the end. Yeah, I don't know, but it's something that's like you always want to kind of be like on top, looking down, attacking versus like coming up the hill to attack. And I just thought that was kind of cool. To like, yeah, you always want to stay ahead of your competition, so never get lazy or anything like that. Was how I interpreted it, but I'm sure you'd interpret it somewhere different. But anyway, Max, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Yeah, for this one, I just say enjoy life and whatever you do. Like, I think we get easily caught up in like in the investing world, always achieving more, always doing better and everything, and or whatever endeavor you're trying to do. But sometimes we forget about living in the moment and stuff like that. And I've always been a future focused person, but I'm trying to bring that more to the present and just be more focused on, hey, enjoy your life right now, still having a future focus, but don't forget, like, have good experiences now and enjoy your life right now too.
Question number 3. When are you proposing? Just kidding.
This is
It's
a
not
great
question number
question.
3. What's your why?
My why, yeah. This one, I don't have like a super altruistic answer for it yet, but again, it's just kind of just to, again, live the lifestyle I want to live right now. I heard this acronym recently, ILI. I think it's income, lifestyle, impact. And so I'm kind of focused on like the income and lifestyle aspects of my life right now, like trying to build income so I can live the lifestyle I want. And then kind of after that, I'll probably focus more on the impact that I can have on other people and stuff, whether it's whatever, coming on more podcasts or something like that, or writing a book like Craig or something, or who knows what it'll be. But I would like to have an impact on folks. But right now I'm kind of focused on building myself up to get to a place where I can do that.
Love that. I think giving back is definitely the most fulfilling part of this entire journey. Is when you start helping other people. I mean, not gonna lie, Max. I'm like, oh, I remember when Max bought his first one. Now he's over here at $10,000 a month. Like, that makes me feel good, right? And so, like, I'm real excited for you to start kind of seeing that as well. All right, fourth question: do you and or Ashley sleep with a stuffed animal still? And if not, what was your favorite stuffed animal as a kid?
We do not, although we always call, especially our cat, but sometimes our dog, like a live stuffed animal. Because a lot of times they just lay there and like accept whatever love we give them, whether we're scratching them like crazy, they're just like acting inanimate sometimes. But we don't sleep with the animals either. So I guess the answer to that is no. What was the second part of your question? I already forgot.
The second part is, what was your favorite stuffed animal as a kid?
Oh, I think I had a bear from Build-A-Bear called Happy, so that must be the one, I guess.
Sounds like he was
I like that.
full of smiles. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome.
You sleep with a stuffed animal, don't you, Craig?
Maybe. No. We do sometimes call our cats stuffed animals as well, but yeah, they're actually they're just our masters and we're their staff. So yeah, you know how that goes with young cats.
That's how that goes.
Yeah. All right, Max, where can people find out more about you?
I guess the best place is probably on Instagram or Facebook. Just CohenMax9 is my handle there. You can also, just feel free to reach out to me and stuff. I'd be happy to talk about my deals or maybe some future partnerships. Maybe I'll open my mind to that or anything. So, I'd love to chat.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much, Max, for coming on. It's been a pleasure to have you, and it's so great to kind of hear your story, kind of, again, I guess, but great to kind of announce it. And yeah, man, it's always good catching up. So thanks so much for coming on, and we'll definitely be in touch, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks,
All
Max.
right, see you, dude.
And that was Max Cohen. Allie, what did you think about Max?
He has the deepest voice I've ever heard in my life.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think I've ever heard.
Even deeper than mine.
Totally deeper.
Yours is deeper than both of ours.
Dude, no, what a cool cat. So right before you joined the call, I realized he has a twin brother. So that's cool that he lives out here in Tucson. And so when he mentioned like duplexes or multifamily in Tucson and how they're not in the best of areas, of course, I cannot steer, but if you look at a crime map, you'll probably see the same thing. And there are no like good new construction here for multifamily in Tucson. But it's so interesting that like his brother was the one who was like, hey, I purchased a house, and put the, bug in his ear. And I know about this like twin competition thing. It's a thing. I should have mentioned it during the podcast. And then, here comes Max, boom, like 2.5 years later, $10,000 in cash flow. So that's super cool.
Yeah, he's crushing it. Okay, one thing Max also didn't mention, and I just know this because of his friend, is like he's a professional line dancer. Like he teaches people how to line dance, him and his wife, or not. I keep calling her wife, but I guess it's girlfriend, Ashley. Like they're phenomenal. So if you want to go to like, just search up like Max Cohen and Ashley, like Wolkomer, WOLKOMIR. And like if you can find them on Facebook or Instagram to see their like their country dancing, line dancing thing, like they are like incredible, the stuff that they can do. It's super cool.
Country, that is so interesting because he's from Westchester County. That's where I'm from, like the suburbs of New York City. We don't really find a lot of country line dancers there.
Oh, that is country heaven up there. You didn't know? You missed that memo?
Westchester?
I'm just kidding.
I guess I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great episode today.
Great episode. Allie, great to be back with you, even after a little bit of a hiatus because of BPCon and all of that. And yeah, if you guys liked this episode, please leave us a rating and review. We love to see those ticking up. We love to see the 5 stars. We love to see that you guys are actually listening to us. And so, if you guys would please leave us that 5-star rating and review and give us a follow on Instagram. I'm the Fi Guy. Allie is
Allie the Agent.
Give us a shout and we will talk soon.
That's it for this episode of Investify. We hope that these nuggets of real estate wisdom lead to more savvy financial planning and a clearer path towards financial freedom. For more content like this, subscribe to the show at investify.com. Don't forget to leave a rating and share it with your friends. Together, we can transform more real estate newbies into successful and clever investors. Thank you so much for listening. See you on the next one.